Harbor Commission July 9th meeting is now in session. May I have a roll call, please?
Let the record reflect that all commissioners are present except for Commissioner Young, who has an excused absence.
Next, I will ask Commissioner Scully if you lead us in the pledge of allegiance.
All right, please stand and towards the flag here, right hand of your heart. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. First item on the agenda is election of officers, and that will come to the dais here. I'd like to ask for any nominations for the position of chair.
I would like to nominate Commissioner Beer for chair.
Second.
Any other nominations for chair? Seeing none, I'll close the nominations and vote. And the voting will be done manually until we reseat and get logged in properly. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Thank you.
So we will start with Commissioner Miller,
I'm an aye.
Commissioner Scully,
Aye.
Commissioner Spurgeon,
Aye.
Commissioner Williams,
Aye.
Secretary Marston. Aye. And motion passes.
Great. I will now accept nominations for the position of vice chair.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to nominate Secretary Marston as a vice chair.
I'll second that. Any other nominations for vice chair? Seeing none, I'll close the nominations and we'll go to vote.
Commissioner Miller,
Aye.
Commissioner Scully,
Aye.
Commissioner Spurgeon,
Aye.
Commissioner Williams,
Aye.
Secretary Marston. Aye. And Vice Chair Beer.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, and lastly, I'd like to accept nominations for secretary. And I'll just go ahead and I'd like to nominate Commissioner Scully.
I'll second.
Any other nominations for secretary? Seeing none, nominations are closed. Let's go to vote.
Commissioner Miller,
Aye.
Commissioner Scully,
Aye.
Commissioner Spurgeon,
Aye.
Commissioner Williams,
Aye.
Secretary Marston. Aye. And Vice Chair Beer.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, great. So the next item of business is to change seat selections. And the way that works, correct me if I'm wrong, but I will move to the center. And then our vice chair, new vice chair Marston, you can decide where you would like to go. And would you like to share that with us now?
I'll move where you
You'll move where I am. Secretary Scully.
I'll move where Vice Chair Marston is.
Okay, great. And then subsequently we go by tenure, but Commissioner Young is not here, so next is Commissioner Williams. Where would you like to be?
I'm going to stay right here.
Very good. And Commissioner Spurgeon.
I'll stay right here also.
All right, well then.
I'll go down to the end.
Miller, you obviously have a choice. You can go
One or two.
You can take one or two.
I'll take the famous. It's a good seat. It's a good seat. It's a high seat.
If you're nervous, you might need to.
Cooler down here. That's Collins, I think.
Excuse us while we go through the formalities of signing in. Next item is public comments, and public comments are invited on non-agenda items. Speakers must limit comments to 3 minutes. Before speaking, we invite but do not require you to state your name for the record. The Harbor Commission has the discretion to extend or shorten the speaker's time limit on non-agenda items, provided the time limit adjustment is applied equally. Please, public comments are open now.
Good evening, folks. Welcome, Commissioner Miller. As you heard me mention at council, there are some things I liked on your application. Protect and enhance the harbor for all who enjoy it, balance stakeholder interests, reasonable responsible management, maintain accessibility and functionality for residents, visitors, and businesses. I look forward to all those things during your term. And Commissioner Scully, congratulations on your reappointment. And I hope as you go through this next term, you'll think back on what we heard from the Coastal Commission in February, that you have access, that we're referring to mooring permittees, a room full of experts, and that there's a high level of collaboration and working together going forward. I think it would save time and money and just be to the benefit of everybody concerned. And thank you all for all the time you invest. And Commissioner Miller, when you find out how hard these folks work, I hope you're not overwhelmed. Thank you.
Any additional public comments? Welcome.
Good evening, and my name is Bud Coons. I have a mooring, offshore mooring. I want to welcome the new member, Mr. Miller, and just thank you again for all you guys do. I do want to just say, I think it was Commissioner Scully that mentioned the taking the license, the California license course, which I've just done. I know it's law, but it also did, and I've been aboard a long time, but it just kind of brings back some things, and it makes you, it just renews your knowledge, I would say. But I do want to just say, and I don't know if any of you can do anything about this, it does bother me that the charter industry, anyone can rent a Duffy without a license, or even knowledge for that matter. And it seems to me the boat owners have a stake in most of them, if not right away, eventually learn the rules and etc. But anyone can rent a Duffy, and it's already, they're the crazy ones out there. It just doesn't seem right or fair. Just thought I'd get that off my chest. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional public comments? Seeing none, we will move to approval of the June 11th minutes. And we've received some comments from a few commissioners, and I want to check and see if there's any additional comments from other commissioners. Commissioner Svercek, anything to add? Commissioner Williams? Commissioner Scully, anything else to what you've already provided?
No.
And Commissioner Miller? Vice Chair Morrison? Sorry, Secretary Scott. Address it properly.
Get that right.
I will. Okay, so I'd like to entertain a motion from someone to approve those minutes with the, oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. Public comments on the minutes from June. Thank you.
Chair Beer, members of the commission, my name is Jim Mosher. At the bottom of page 2 of the draft minutes, I'm actually looking at Vice Chair, now Vice Chair Marston's markup of it. It had not identified a commissioner who had spoke about the draft minutes from the previous meeting, and now Vice Chair Marston correctly identified herself as the speaker. But I quite distinctly remember she noted on that page of the previous minutes, not only was my name misspelled and Chair Cunningham's name, but her own name was misspelled on that page. That there's a T missing for Marston and a M missing for Cunningham. So I would suggest the second line of her correction, it would read, and her and Commissioner Cunningham's names were also misspelled, rather than just Commissioner Cunningham's. And I hope both names are corrected in those minutes from the last meeting, but I tried to look at the Harbor Commission folder for that meeting, and the approved minutes are not yet in it, so I can't verify that they were corrected. And I may not have looked carefully enough when that came in, but I would note we still don't have speaker cards here, so the staff may have difficulty deciphering the names when people come up and speak. And it would be helpful if they could fill out their name if they want their name spelled correctly. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mosier. Are there any additional public comments on the minutes from June 11th? Seeing none, again, I'll open it up for a motion.
I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the June 11th, 2025 Harbor Commissioner meeting minutes with the comments from then Vice Chair Beer, now Chair Beer, and from myself and from Vice Chair Marston.
And Mr. Mosher. And I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Let's go to vote.
Motion passes with abstaining votes from Commissioner Williams and Commissioner Miller.
Okay, thank you. Going to current business. Item number 1 is the 2026 Harbor and Beaches Master Plan assigned to ad hoc committee for initial review. And I'll turn it over to Mr. Miller for a staff report.
Thank you, Chair Beard, members of the Harbor Commission. I won't belabor this staff report item too much because most of us in the audience are familiar with the Harbor and Beaches Master Plan. The purpose of tonight's, this afternoon's meeting is to assign the review of the Harbor and Beaches Master Plan document to the ad hoc committee. And the intent is for that ad hoc committee to review with me and come back with suggested changes, hopefully early in the fall. And then I'll revise the document and present it to the Harbor Commission. And then ultimately the Harbor Commission, if they should choose, would recommend approval of the document. And the reason for me doing this, I'm trying to get ahead of the curve this year and start early. I know it's July. We might not want to think about it this summer, but we can certainly hop on it at our convenience in August or shortly thereafter, but really to get a head start on it. And for our newest commissioner, Commissioner Miller, the Harbor and Beaches Plan is a list of capital projects that are forecast out for a number of decades, and they are using best knowledge of approximate costs and lifespan of certain infrastructure items in the harbor. And so we assign a value to those and a lifespan. And then as those items come up, we reprioritize them every year with the Commission's help. And then we incorporate those as best we can into the city's budget. After the Harbor Commission meeting, it goes to the Finance Committee, the City Council's Finance Committee, usually around February or so. So my intention this afternoon was not to dive into the specifics of the Harbor and Beaches Master Plan. That would be the job of the ad hoc committee. The ad hoc committee consists of Commissioners Furchek, Jan, and Marston, because they are in that committee that is assigned for objective number 5 focuses on identifying opportunities to add additional harbor services, whether through programs or infrastructure projects. And so we felt that this plan fits squarely within their purview. And so that is really the gist of the staff report. And we hope to come back to you later on in the fall. Be happy to answer any questions, though, if you have any on this topic.
Any questions? Commissioner Miller.
The only question I need is,
Can you make that font any bigger? Because that thing is the smallest font illustration I've ever seen, but it was very detailed, so it's great. Thank you.
You're absolutely correct. Normally, when it comes back to the commission for full review, I'll make a ledger sheet, a ledger size copy, which does make it easier to read, but you're right, that is a common complaint. The version that we're looking at today that is the version that the Finance Committee approved back in February. And we're in the middle of a project right now that will rearrange a whole bunch of line items we've been working on our public peers. So that will all be flushed out, revised, and when I come back to the Harbor Commission later on in the fall, you'll see a cleaned up version.
Thank you. Vice Chair Marston.
So just a clarification, are you going to bring that new plan to us before the ad hoc meets, or do you want the ad hoc to meet to incorporate our comments into your new plan?
That option.
You want us to meet first, give you...
Correct. If you could, when you're reviewing it, and I'd be happy to meet with you, the whole idea is for us to assign it to the committee, and then we can figure out a day and time to meet at our convenience. But the idea is for you to maybe disregard for right now the dates involved, because that'll all get jumbled around, but just look at the projects themselves, and if there's anything we should add, that's where this would be appropriate.
Thank you. Commissioner Storchek, any comments? Commissioner Williams? Secretary Scully?
Chris, I know we're not supposed to get into the weeds on this, but the lower Castaway is at with a $47 million number. That's changing now, isn't it?
It is.
So what is your plan with that? Right? Are you going to wait for the subcommittee, or I know City Council was involved in this.
City Council is involved in this, and I don't think it's gone in depth any further than discussion level. So yes, the plan will be updated accordingly if there's movement on it, but I'll change it to the degree that I can to reflect the City Council's new direction.
Yeah.
I think there's a meeting tomorrow.
Oh.
Okay. All right, thank you. That's it.
And as always, thank you, Chris, for your help on that. I always enjoy reviewing that and getting through that process. Thank you. Any public comments with respect to the Harbor and Beaches Master Plan, item 1? Seeing none, I don't think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think any action is necessary because you're assigning it to an existing ad hoc committee. Would that be accurate?
Yeah, yes, I think so.
Okay, great. Moving on to item number 2. Resolution adopting onshore mooring specification revisions. And before going to staff report, I just would like to mention that subsequent to last month's motion to draft a resolution, to have staff draft a resolution, there was some conversation resulting from public input from NMA and NMA members related to sort of parity between the different onshore mooring permittees and the time that they have to bring their moorings to specification. So that was taken into careful consideration, and as a result, the staff report amends the prior motion or the resolution that was drafted as a result of that resolution to require that all onshore mooring permittees bring their moorings to specification within the latter of 12/31/25 or at their next biannual inspection. And for the benefit of those that don't know some of the history, I just want to summarize that. Historically, the onshore moorings were designed as access to offshore moorings. This is primarily tenders, lightweight craft, and so on. The specified anchor weight requirement for onshore moorings was 250 pounds. But over the years, many onshore moorings are now being used for boat storage, and this includes heavier 18-foot power boats. As a result, many boats have come off the mooring or have dragged the lighter anchor weights and tackle, resulting in safety concerns. As per current requirements, if a mooring fails, i.e. moves due to insufficient weight, the mooring permittee shall immediately increase the mooring's weight by at least 20%. Currently, there are 429 approximately onshore moorings. 335 of them now, or about 78%, meet or exceed the new 300-pound requirement. The remaining 22%, 94 moorings, remain under 300 pounds and need to come to the new specified standard if the resolution is passed. Those 94 mooring permittees are being provided the opportunity to come in compliance at the later of December 31st of this year or the date of their next biannual inspection. These 94 moorings, on average, will need to add 61 pounds of weight to a single anchor. Based upon what I've just described, this will result in all moorings being in compliance between the next 6 to 24 months from when this resolution becomes effective, should it become effective. And as per a quote from South Mooring, who was kind enough to provide that, the cost for adding weight is $1 per pound. That's including the weights and installation. So I wanted to provide that summary for everyone and then offer any staff report or input that staff might like to provide additional to that.
Good evening, Commissioners and Chair Beard. At the last Harbor Commission meeting, you all voted to modify specifications on onshore moorings, and you directed staff to return with resolution reflecting the modifications agreed upon. All onshore moorings will have the same minimum weight requirement of 300 pounds. Before you will find the resolution that states all onshore moorings that do not meet the newly adopted specifications must be brought to compliance by the permittee's next scheduled overhaul or December 31st, 2025, whichever occurs later. Staff recommendation is for the Harbor Commission to adopt this resolution. Please let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you. I'll bring it up here for any questions. Commissioner Spurcheck?
No questions.
Commissioner Williams?
None.
Secretary Scully?
None.
Vice Chair Marston?
No.
Commissioner Miller?
None.
I have no questions, so let's open it up for public comments.
Adam Levens again, and just to know, I'm not a member of the Newport Mooring Association, but I have some pretty heavy involvement with them. This, I think, reflects the kind of collaboration I was just talking about several minutes ago. I mean, it seems like you heard people and you know, there's more consistency. I still think those to be affected, the number you mentioned, I don't know that they were provided notice so that they could have been here. And I also note that Tidal Marine gave a quote of $2 a pound. Myself and others have spoken with Chuck South, and Tidal Marine said $200 to lift the weight if it's done outside of a normal service interval. So the costs, you know, may vary somewhat, but the fact that you're giving them until the next service date or this December, the latter of either, that helps a lot. So thank you very much.
Any additional public comments? Mr. Mosher?
Yeah, Chair Beard, members of the commission, my name is Jim Mosher. I'm pleased that you're pursuing this by means of resolution, so you have a chance to get it right. I have just a few technical comments about it. I'm looking at the revised draft that was handed out here from the city attorney, who's apparently not here tonight. And I'm looking at the first page of that. I think there may be a typo in the second whereas, where it's referred to the permits and sub-permits allow the parties to place, erect, maintain, use, and tie moorings on city tidelines. Is there a word missing? It's supposed to be tied to moorings. I don't know the harbor lingo, but you tie moorings or you tie to moorings. And then the second to last whereas is on that page, I would notice, said that there will be no change to the offshore mooring specifications that were established on January 25th, 2022. Yet when I come to the operative section 1 of the ordinance on the next page, it says the Harbor Commission does hereby approve the modifications to offshore and onshore mooring specifications. If no changes are being made, well, why does it say you're approving modifications to offshore moorings? I would think it would just say to onshore moorings. And then the Exhibit A, even though apparently no change is being proposed, you have 2 pages about offshore moorings, which seem to me to be irrelevant. The only possibility is this might inadvertently be different from what they are now. And if these are not the same as actually were adopted in January, it's going to create confusion. Are you trying to change them or not? So I would suggest leaving off anything about offshore moorings if you're not trying to do it. And then finally on the final page, for the onshore moorings, it says those are the specifications from June 2025. I believe we're in July now. Aren't those the July specifications? So is that also a typo? Should that be July instead of June? And unfortunately, the attorney is not here to opine on that, but they seem like mistakes to me. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional public comments? Seeing none, I just want to see if staff wants to address some of the items that were brought up.
Certainly, if you want to insert the word "to," as Mr. Moser has suggested, that can be done as part of the approval of this, or adoption of this resolution. To his second point about the disparity between language of onshore and offshore moorings, indeed, the offshore mooring specifications are not being altered by this action. It is, however, contained, all of the specifications, both onshore and offshore, are contained in one single document. And that is why the whereas says offshore are not being modified, but when referred to on the final page requiring your signature, it refers to a single document that contains both offshore and onshore. I'm sorry, I lost the last one.
The date, June versus July.
If you want to change it from June to July, sure. It was your direction given in June that resulted in these modifications, so I would leave it as June because that's when the direction was given. The adoption of the resolution will indeed take place in July. The efficacy of the specifications will indeed take place in July, but it was your direction in June that stimulated this move.
Thank you for the clarification. I will offer any additional public comments based on that. Seeing none, bring it back to the dais. Any additional comments that commissioners may have? Okay. I'd like to see if we can entertain a motion to adopt this resolution with the change of adding the word "to" in place. I think that would be the only change. You have an additional grammatical?
The one that Mr. Mosher said,
But the problem is it's one document, so.
but it says approve the modifications to the offshore and onshore, so it shouldn't say offshore modifications.
Well, the specifications are one specification for offshore and onshore.
Well, I see, it's a title, not.
Right.
Correct.
Yeah,
Exactly.
okay.
And it's capitalized as such. So I think we're good with just adding the word "to" in between tie and mooring. So with that, do I have a motion?
I'll go ahead and make the motion, and I'd also like to include in the motion that this agenda item is exempt from CEQA. I'll second.
Great. Put a vote.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Moving on to the next item, which are the ad hoc committee updates. And we have 3 currently. I would like to ask if there are any updates to ad hoc committee objective number 1.
I do, Chair Bear, if I can just jump into that.
Please.
It's been a few months, but I had a good conversation with Joe Beek of the Ferry. And the ad hoc committee we're talking about is the Balboa Ferry and the effort that they've been working on in terms of meeting the emission requirements set by the state. They've had some pretty good movement and good news. They've really zeroed in on two grants for the replacement of the ferries and the infrastructure that's a part of this. One is a $2 million Carl Moyer grant, and the second part is a joint California Air Resources Board and South Coast Air Quality Management District grant of $8 million. Both grants have been signed up and approved by both entities. Well, Carl Moyer's been approved, and the dual CARB Air Quality Management District requires signatures from both of them. Those are all done, and they're approved and are earmarked for the design, the infrastructure and construction of new vessels, and those are to be electric, the ferries to be electrified and brand new ferries built. They believe that this money would be available in the next 30 to 60 days, hopefully. And these are monies that are given for reimbursement of expenses that are incurred for the engineering and construction of the vessels and the infrastructure. They commented as to the city being extremely helpful as it relates to the charging infrastructure plan, and the city is going to take the lead on working with Southern California Edison to put the electrical equipment underground in the street there, and the charging infrastructure that'll be put over by the ferry. They are working on trying to increase the Carl Moyer grant because of how long it's been going on and the amount of cost increases that they've incurred over the last couple of years while they've been working on this. We'll see. That's to be determined. Once the approvals are received and the dollars are confirmed, they'll move to an engineering phase where the vessels will be engineered and the infrastructure will be engineered. That'll take about 6 months, and then they'll move into construction, and that'll just go out to bid, and they'll determine. There's been no decision on who will build the ferries as of yet. They communicated that the CARB and Air Quality Management District money has been signed off by both parties, which means that the money has been earmarked and should not be pulled back, which is probably good news for them. So that concludes my update as it relates to the ferries.
Thank you. That was comprehensive. Any questions or comments from commissioners related to that?
What's the total dollar amount?
$10 million.
Okay. Well, I will ask if you have any comments to the general plan on the second ad hoc committee, Commissioner Scully or Marston.
No changes from mine since our last meeting.
Okay, and the ad hoc committee on the public dock utilization, I believe at the last meeting, it was agreed to absolve that. So, in the future, that probably should be removed. Correct?
Promontory.
Yeah, well, I think that's what created.
That's correct.
Yeah, so we would ask that that be removed from future agenda items on ad hoc committees. With that, I'll reach out and ask if there are any public comments related to the ad hoc committee objectives.
Chair Barrett, members of the commission, my name is Commissioner Mosher, and I can provide a little extra update about the general plan advisory, general plan update to what is currently called the Harbor Bay element, but probably will be renamed the Harbor Bay and Beaches element. I've been telling you it would be coming to you for review for probably a year now, and I don't know why it moves along so slowly. The General Plan Advisory Committee met this month, but the month before that, I think the date was June 4th or so. Yeah, June 4th. The entire General Plan Advisory Committee reviewed the new element and encouraged the staff to present that to all the boards, commissions, which would be this commission, and because it's now Harbor, Bay, and Beaches element, to the Parks, Beaches, and Recreation Commission, and to also something we have called the Water Quality Coastal Tidelands Commission. Neither you nor they have seen them in the intervening month or two, so I don't quite know what happened, but it will be coming to you. And if you're curious what you will be seeing, you can see something very similar to what will be coming to you for review if you go back. The city has a laserfish archive of all its council, board, and commission meetings. And if you look at the General Plan Advisory Committee meeting under boards and commissions for June 4th and open the agenda packet folder, you will see the draft. At the very end of the things there is the draft Harbor, Bay, and Beaches element. And I think some tiny recommendations were made at the June meeting, but it will be very similar to what you see here. And that will be coming to you. I have no idea when, but sometime. Thank you.
Thank you.
Adam Leverage again. I haven't followed the ferry as closely as other things. Is that 10 million anticipated to cover like new ferries in the water? I mean, are there figures on that? Just curious if you could respond to that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure. I'm going to assume it's right there, that number. But not until it's engineered and it goes out for an RFP, they'll figure out what it's going to be.
Any additional public comments? Seeing none, we'll move on to the next item, which is the Harbor Commission objectives. And I'll quickly run through to ask if we have any updates. First objective, review of Title 17. I know Commissioner Young is out this evening, but I anticipate that he will have a reasonably significant update for us in the next scheduled commission meeting. Item number 2, with Commissioners Furchick and Scully, do you have any updates on the Water Quality Coastal Tidelands Committee?
I think the meeting was postponed. Yeah, so there wasn't a meeting to attend, so I think it's been postponed to the next meeting tomorrow, I think. So nothing further to report.
Okay. And as we talked earlier about item number 5, Vice Chair Marston, I don't know if you have any updates to that. And again, Commissioner Young's out, so okay, thank you. Commissioner Scully, anything with business opportunities, partnerships, nonprofits, and so on, with the Safety Committee and so on?
No, nothing further to report on that right now.
Okay, great. And also on reviewing the responsibilities relative to the department's readiness and effective delivery of harbor services for operations during emergencies.
No, I mean, I think it should be reiterated about the amount of training that the Harbor Department does and the Harbor Service officers receive. I think is just outstanding and really makes them capable of handling situations as they occur. So I feel very confident about that, about their capabilities, and I'm not sure we can add much right now.
Agreed, and thanks to Harbor Master Blank for that. And also I believe that now they're referred to as the Harbor Safety Service staff. What's the proper term now?
Harbor Safety Officers.
Harbor Safety Officers. And that basically goes right along with what you said. Thank you. I would like to say that on item 8, we have no updates, but please remove Commissioner Cunningham from that item, as he's no longer commissioner. And I would like to ask, are there any other commissioners that would like to join that current objective, number 8, working with staff on an update to the market rent to be charged for onshore and offshore moorings?
I'll join that.
Great, thank you. Next, item number 9, the evaluate established day moorings off Big Corner Beach again. I believe, if my memory serves me, we discussed removing this
I think,
as
yeah,
well.
that got killed, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's see if we can get that off of the objectives. And then the last item, I think, which is supporting staff in efforts to the dredge completion of the Federal Navigation Channel. For those that don't know, that's been a very, 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 very long, entailed process that has finally come to a point where I believe we have either issued a contract or in the process of getting one issued. And perhaps later during the harbor master report we can get an update on that. But for now, I think that this objective is also obsolete. And I don't think there's any support that's necessary at this point, as it's going to go to contract. But that's open for discussion. Anybody concur or not? Agree. Mr. Uppel? Agree. Commissioner Sarchet? Commissioner Scully?
I'd like to hear from Chris Miller in terms of our RGP 54, and if it needs, a Harbor Commission objective to stay on top of that. I know that's something that's got to get renewed on a cyclical basis.
That's a good point. So maybe we amend item number 10 and eliminate the dredging and leave RGP 54. But Mr. Miller?
I'd be happy to provide some light on the topic. Regarding the dredging, the contract will be awarded next week, and the notice to proceed will be given shortly thereafter. I would expect to see dredgers in our harbor after the summer, which is a good thing to avoid the summer traffic. So my crystal ball would say after Labor Day, somewhere in that range. Regarding the RGP 54, I will give a lot of credit to previous commissioners, especially previous chair, prior chair Cunningham, for bringing us to where we are today with our RGP 54 permit. I'm currently in the process of reauthorizing the permit, but I'm not asking for any changes. Prior Commissioner Cunningham was very instrumental in past revisions, reauthorizations, of suggesting updates and improvements to that permit. We're not working on any improvements right now, so it's up to you if the commission would like to stay informed on and keep abreast of that objective, but there isn't really a whole lot to do since we're keeping it the same.
Thank you. Commissioner Scully, any comment on that? Your thoughts?
I think we should stay on top of it. I think it's the local dredging piece over time is something that's important to our harbor, and I think it's something that should be reported on here, and we should stay abreast of it. So, we've talked about maybe new objectives, and maybe something along those lines gets written different than what's there today. That's fair. So we'll look at amending that, and we have new objectives that are going to be agendized soon, I believe. So let's stay with that. Let's remove Commissioner Cunningham from that, and then we'll assign additional commissioners at that time. Okay. And yes, Vice Chair Marshall.
I have a question, probably for Harbor Master Blake. On the title of this is 2024 objectives, which I'm not quite sure if we're on a calendar year or fiscal year here, just be 24, 25. But then when you read the discussion, it seems to be a year off, because it says we adopted these in October of 23. I would think it would be October 24. So does that need to be updated?
My recollection is that these objectives were adopted to be addressed in 2024. It has taken, you continue to address these, so they were established in 2024, but the date on which you began this journey or this leg of the voyage was 2024. I believe later on in this meeting, some commissioner may suggest that it's time to revise objectives, and perhaps at the August meeting we will convene a subcommittee to determine or recommend new objectives. So I would get too caught up in date. I think new objectives are coming your way soon.
Any other comments from the dais? If none, I'll ask if there's any public comments.
I'm just curious, as to the dredging contract, the awarding next week would be by the Army Corps of Engineers, if I understand correctly. And is not the city making some fairly substantial contribution to that? So will there be any further city council action needed in connection with the awarding of that contract? Or has the city already given all the approvals it needs?
I believe I know the answer, but I'll defer to Mr. Miller.
There will not be any other further city council item. The city has contributed already the funds 2 years ago, and everything's in place, permits are in place, everything's good.
And the contract is between the city and the contractor?
The contractor's between the Corps
Corps.
and the contractor, and with involvement from the city to be the liaison between the residents and the contractor and help guide the contractor.
Very good. Any other public comments? Seeing none. Regarding item 10 to replace Commissioner Cunningham, we decided that when the new objectives come up here shortly, we'll deal with it at that time. Moving on to item 5, our long-awaited Harbor Master update. This 4th of July time of year.
Good evening, Chair Beer and Commissioners. I'm Paul Blank, your Harbor Master. This is a report on June activities, so we don't cover, I didn't cover the July 4th holiday weekend. I can report anecdotally that it was incredibly busy weekend at the harbor, but everybody got home safely. No injuries to report, and only minor damage involved in one collision that we took a report on in collaboration with the Sheriff's Department. It was very long hours for the Harbor Department. It was very long hours for me. I took phone calls well into the night. I was on the water well into the night on the 4th. And interestingly, there was an anonymous tip on Sunday about an unpermitted charter operation taking place on the harbor that involved a passenger count well in excess of the certificate of inspection for the vessel. So I reached out to the Coast Guard, and they joined us for a cooperative enforcement operation on Sunday. So I haven't had a day off in a while. Here's what happened in June. As always, we put our efforts behind achieving the Harbor Department's mission, which is to keep the harbor clean, safe, and well enjoyed. This presentation is organized as our efforts are expended in terms of keeping the harbor clean, the harbor safe, and the harbor well enjoyed, and then there's some miscellaneous stuff at the end. Our efforts in June focused on keeping the harbor clean, included enforcement of limits on fishing at various public docks. There was a lot of unauthorized angling at various public docks, and I'm pleased to report that in each and every case where we approach an angler who is enjoying a public dock where it's not allowed, we offer them a long list of alternative locations where fishing on public docks is permitted in the harbor and on the ocean. And not everybody is receptive to those alternative locations, but we at least make the effort to offer those alternative locations every time we encounter that angler fishing where they're not supposed to. The sea lions seem to have recovered well from the domoic acid crimp in their style earlier in this year, and we deployed a tremendous amount of sea lion deterrents for permittees, dock owners, property owners, etc. No fines, but a couple of notice of violations were issued. There was a vessel that entered the harbor. The new registered owner of the vessel obtained the vessel for free. So this was free to him, but a requirement in accepting this free vessel was that he move it from its location in San Diego to some other location. His intention was to move it to Wilmington. He stopped here in the harbor and left it on a public dock, abandoned for several hours, and that particular dock has a 30-foot limit, so it's a 42-foot boat abandoned on a dock that only allows for 30-foot boats. You will see this vessel later on in this presentation in another instance. But I will start this discussion by saying a free vessel is never free, and irresponsible owners who offer their vessels for free should not do so. And then lastly, we ran a number of after hours, both late night and early morning patrols during the month of June, looking for suspected unpermitted liverboards, and 3 of them are currently still under investigation. You see there in the images are the very clear signage at the 29th Street Pier, which is equivalent to the same signage at 19th, Balboa Marina, and Central, where fishing is not permitted. The middle image is that 42-foot Grand Banks that the owner received, the new registered owner received for free, parked at the Central Avenue, or abandoned, not parked, abandoned at the Central Avenue dock. And then lastly, an early morning shot of a vessel suspected of having an unpermitted liverboard aboard. And the tell in that particular case is that there are not 1, not 2, but 3 separate tenders made fast to that boat at 5:45 in the morning. And that is a pretty big telling sign to us that somebody is aboard. For reference, the permitted number of tenders made fast to a permitted mooring is 1 for non-liverboards and 2 for liverboards. In terms of keeping the harbor safe, this was where our efforts were focused in June. There were numerous advisements given on the requirements for wearing personal flotation devices or life jackets on stand-up paddleboards and kayaks. There were several disabled electric vessels and at least 1 gas-powered vessel that were towed to safety on public docks in various conditions. Most of those tows resulted in the attendance of a professional service provider, Seatow or Towboat US, that came and dealt with the vessel after we were done with it. On 1 occasion, we did tow it back to its residence. There was a distraught girl stranded on the swim platform at 10th Street that we helped make it back ashore to her also distraught mother. There were several navigation light patrols carried out and advisements given, no citations issued, but lots of notice of violations. We supported the public dock float replacement project that is ongoing, and I'll talk a little bit about that image in a moment. And then lighted floats were added to the swim lines at the Marina Park Mother's Beach and seem to be very effective at keeping folks out of that line after dark. We've had a number of propeller wraps and cuts of the swim line in front of the Marina Park Beach. These lighted floats seem to be helping. The image you see at the top is of that little girl who was stranded on the 10th Street swim float, and then her distraught mother wading into the water. Her mother was not a strong swimmer and could not retrieve the little girl, so we brought a patrol boat in there, had the little girl get aboard the patrol boat. We took the patrol boat on the beach and reunited the mother and daughter. It was a very heartwarming story and well told amongst the department. On the bottom image, you see signage as clear as we could make it at the 19th Street public dock, indicating that the public dock was under construction and closed. There is signage to the left of the gangway, there is signage to the right of the gangway, there's a sandwich board in the middle of the gangway, and yet when this image was taken, there were 3 vessels berthed at that dock. In terms of ensuring that the harbor remained well enjoyed in the month of June, our activities were focused on unpermitted charter activities, both suspected as referred to us, as well as ones that we observed ourselves. I am here to report that group activity is significantly up in terms of utilization in the harbor. There were many groups making use of both anchorages as well as the marina at Marina Park. And we were happy to support those groups making safe use of the harbor, safe and clean use of the harbor. We're glad to see that tourist activity or that visitor activity increasing for the harbor. We found a new mechanism for refreshing the time zone markings on the public docks, and this was necessitated by the replacement of several of the public docks. I'll talk a little bit more about that image in a moment. And then the most heartwarming story related to keeping the harbor well enjoyed involved replacing a lost pin for a young constituent who visits annually. I'll tell that story in just a moment. And then the last bullet point you see there is that we received a complaint about an underwater light in the Coves area, and that was successfully addressed. In the upper image you see Harbor Safety Officer Lobano conversing with a group on the Washington Street Pier. Turns out that group are annual visitors to the Balboa Peninsula, usually for a week. And last year when they were here, their young son encountered Harbor Safety Officer Lobano and received from him a code enforcement pin from the Harbor Department. In the ensuing year, he somehow lost that pin, and somehow the sequence of events was just right, such that the family came down to Washington Street Pier, as they did last year, flagged Harbor Service Officer Lobano, who happened to be passing by, down to report the lost pin. Harbor Service Officer Lobano came back to the department headquarters, collected pins, and then went back out there the next day to encounter the same family and provided not just a pin for the young boy who had lost his, but for his two buddies as well. So that's the image in the lower portion of your screen there. That's the three new junior Harbor code enforcement officers as deputized by Harbor Safety Officer Lobano. In the right-hand image that's sort of askew, you see new 3-hour max time zone markings. That is actually an adhesive decal that is made specifically for use on sidewalks and streets, and it can be, the backing can be peeled off. They're printed for us, the backing can be peeled off, and then we put them on with a roller, and that is a much more effective use of our time than going out there with stencils and paint for at least 2 days, in some cases 3 days, depending on how long the paint dries, how many coats are necessary. So it's an experiment for us, but hopefully a strong improvement. Those decals are not cheap, but it saves time, it saves a tremendous amount of time, and Harbor Service workers report that they are as effective, if not more, than painted markers. So we'll stick with them until they prove that they don't hold up, but so far so good. Here is an image of the harbor being well enjoyed on the afternoon of June 28th. You note there the vessel Triton, super yacht, 168 feet, enjoying the large vessel anchorage. You notice the super yacht Invictus going on a harbor cruise, which is not really a wise endeavor on a crowded Thursday night in the middle of summer, but we couldn't talk them out of it, so we did it. And I count 7 small electric vessels and a host of other vessels in this frame, which was captured by a local bystander and provided to the Harbor Department. But I don't think there's another image of the harbor that conveys the level of activity we saw in June and the level of enjoyment being had in June better than this image. Some odds and ends for you. We got a nice note from a grateful permittee working with the permit technician who uncovered an unbeknownst lien on a vessel that the permittee was considering having assigned to his mooring. So having to go through the documentation process with us netted that particular almost owner an opportunity to get out of the deal because the deal had not yet closed. So that owner who would have been saddled with that heretofore unbeknownst lien was made aware of it by our process, by us and our process. So kudos and a nice note to that effect. We did receive an angry call related to the launch ramp closure that took place on a Thursday. The launch ramp had been reconfigured for fundraising event for Hope Hospital. As the landlord at that location is welcome to do, his agreement is with the County of Orange and states he can use his property to do whatever kind of special event he wants. But somebody who pulled up to the entrance gate for the dunes that Thursday afternoon was turned away. Boats could be retrieved from the launch ramp, but no additional boats could be pulled in there because there was no place to park road vehicles or trailers. And that particular mariner was very angry and called us to let us know about his anger. We did suggest some alternatives, including any of the local boat yards that were open at the time who could have launched his vessel for him. There are also launch ramps in other locations. He was not particularly satisfied with those alternative locations, and I don't know what his end result was. We did provide further support for the no-cost vessel that I mentioned earlier in this presentation that returned to the harbor after having been escorted out. You will see in the mid-image that's kind of askew, that is that same Grand X 42 now on a private residential dock. So once again, he entered the harbor, abandoned abandon his boat on a private residential dock. The residential property owner called us to deal with it. We towed it away, put it on a mooring, and then we worked very closely with the new registered owner to ensure that it was operable and could leave the harbor. And we provided it an escort. And he provided us insurance he was not coming back, as we had told him it would be unwise. And then lastly, we provided some information for a local real estate agent who was curious about what the bridge height clearance is on the Coast Highway Bridge. We went out and photo documented what it was at 4.2 tide, and that the clearance at that time was 20 feet, and that at a maximum high tide of about 7172, there were 17 feet of clearance, and then at a low tide of minus 0.5, we had a clearance of about 23 feet. The real estate agent who was working on a sale in the Upper Bay was very grateful for our efforts. Following on, odds and ends, some public comments were offered during non-agenda items at a city council meeting recently that I felt I felt it necessary to address those comments which were not fully informed or aware of the situation in the Harbor Department. So for your all benefit and the benefit of the audience, I am providing here context for some of the concerns that were expressed during those comments on non-agenda items. First of all, the change from Harbor Services Worker to Harbor Safety Officer titles was done, it required city council approval. It also required approval from the bargaining units that represent the people who perform in those functions, and there's two classes of people who perform in those functions. And this was all initiated because the Harbor Services Worker title was made up by the HR department when the Harbor Department was formed in haste in 2017. The HR department did the best they could to describe and define the people who would work in the Harbor Department, but they didn't do any kind of consulting of other agencies that would have similar functions or similar titles. So that Harbor Services Worker title was 100% unique to the city of Newport Beach. We could find no other agency anywhere in the United States that uses a title similar to that. So for consistency between harbors, which we try to promote and support, it was felt a change of the title to Harbor Safety Officer better reflected what those people do and what the mission of the Harbor Department is and how we interact with people performing the same functions in other harbors, which we do on a consistent basis. That is the reason, and that is the result. The requirement for the PC 832 class was also questioned. PC 832, the title of the course is Laws of Arrest, and while that is an unfortunate title, it is not reflective of the material that is actually covered in that class. It is a requirement that anyone involved, any employee of the city of Newport Beach, doesn't matter what department you're in, if you are an employee of the city of Newport Beach and you are at all involved in code enforcement, not law enforcement, but code enforcement, the successful completion of the PC 832 class is required. All the code enforcement officers in CDB, all the park patrol officers in RSS, all the code enforcement officers in Public Works, anyone involved in code enforcement in the city of Newport Beach is required to complete that course successfully. And the course material is really focused on protection of the constitutional rights of those who may be subject to code enforcement. There is all sorts of course material about how to protect the public's First Amendment rights and Fourth Amendment rights, and how to effectively interact with people suspected of code violations. So the title of that course is unfortunate, but the material is incredibly important and protects all of us. There's also the existence of our safety lights and sirens on the patrol boats was questioned, and I call your attention to the fact that we are involved in safety operations. That is a huge component of the three adjective mission of the Harbor Department, safety being the number 2 requirement or portion. And for our own safety and for the safety of whoever we are encountering, those lights and sirens successfully call attention to the operations we are actively engaged in. We do not activate them as we are just patrolling around the harbor. We activate them when we are involved in important safety delivery. And there are two examples in the images above. In the images on this slide. The above image was us raising a sunken vessel in the coves where the navigation channel is extremely tight. And it was important to call attention to mariners navigating in that extremely tight navigation channel that we were engaged in that operation for the safety of our harbor safety officers and the mariners transiting that very narrow channel. The red and amber lights on that patrol boat were calling attention to that, and in the absence of those amber and red lights, navigation in that very narrow channel would not have been as safe. Lastly, the image on the bottom shows harbor safety officers tossing a retrieval line to a person in the water as they effected a retrieval of that person in the water. This was not a drill, this was an actual rescue where the life ring had already been provided to that person and the safety line was being thrown. For other mariners navigating in the area, it was exceptionally important for the safety of the person in the water and the safety of the harbor safety officers actually trying to effect the rescue, that attention be called to their operation and that it was a rescue. In the absence of a siren or attempts to get a signal or a red or amber light, mariners transiting in the area may not have been aware of the person in the water or that our harbor safety officers were trying to maneuver their boat into a position where they could effect a rescue. Lastly, I would like to cover some department responsibilities and economics. During those public comments on non-agenda items, what I consider unfair comparison was made to the $360,000 contract the City of Newport Beach had with the Orange County Sheriff's Harbor Department for provision of mooring management services in 2016 to the 2024 fiscal year budget of $2.8 million for the Harbor Department. That is an unfair comparison, and here are some facts you should be aware of. When the Harbor Department was formed in 2017, the first but not the only responsibility the Harbor Department was tasked with was mooring management. And indeed, the Orange County Sheriff's Harbor Department was paid by contract $360,000 to provide that service in 2016. In addition, the Harbor Department was immediately tasked with two other services that were being provided to harbor constituents at the time. Those services were management of the Balboa Yacht Basin Marina and support for this commission. Those were the only three services that the City of Newport Beach was paying for in 2016. Almost immediately, the leadership of this city, including yourself, this body, the Harbor Commission, those of you who were serving at the time, and the City Council, and the City Manager's Office, tasked the newly formed Harbor Department with these additional services, including code enforcement, events and activities permitting, safety and rescue operations, marina park management, pump out and public dock maintenance, abandoned vessel abatement, education and information service provision, and water quality monitoring and management. And associated with every employment contract and every memo that is issued to the giving direction to anybody who works for the city is the following quote: and responsibilities as assigned. So there was absolutely an expectation that as new projects, as new opportunities came up, those assignments would be made to the Harbor Department. All this to say, a comparison of the 2016 contract for mooring management services to the Orange County Sheriff's Harbor Department for $360,000 is in no way reflective of what the assignments were that were handed the Harbor Department when it was formed in 2017. Excuse me. And in fact, for the fiscal year that ended June 2024, those mooring management services were provided by the City of Newport Beach Harbor Department for less than the contract in 2016. It was about $316,000 for the Harbor Department to provide that service in fiscal '24 versus $360,000 for the Sheriff's Department to provide it in 2016. You will note on this slide from fiscal '24 that by far and away, the biggest service we provide is code enforcement, a service that had not been provided to Harbor's constituents before the establishment of the Harbor Department in 2017. Here is the same graph for fiscal '25, the year just ended. Again, code enforcement, by far and away, the biggest portion of our budget. The cost for mooring management in the fiscal year just ended was about $360,000. So 9 years later, the Harbor Department is now providing a much better, a much improved, and far superior mooring management service for the same cost that the Sheriff's Department was providing it in 2016. Lastly, for economics, on the economics. This is the operating statement for the Harbor Department for the fiscal year ended June 2024. This is our budget versus our actuals after all the adjustments, amendments, accruals, and everything else was accounted for. You will note that in revenue, we had a 13% surplus, where we achieved a 13% betterment over the anticipated budget for revenue. In personnel expenses, we saved, or the final actual was 3% less than the actual budgeted for the department. And lastly, there was a 24% cost savings recognized in operating expenses. Overall, on our $2.8 million budget, we saved, we came in at 2.4 budget. I think that is a operating statement for any organization to be jealous of. And I encourage you to study that carefully. If you want to see the details behind any of that, I can share almost all of it with you. It is public information, easily obtained on the city's website in the budget section. The finance department keeps very close tabs on these and is very good about providing the public with accurate information about what it costs to provide the services for the city, including the Harbor Department. And while I find this to be an envious, an operating statement to be envied, if there is someone who can perform these services and earn a better return for the city and do it at less cost to the taxpayers, I will happily step aside for that person. I repeat and acknowledge that I am a beneficiary of these services because I vote on this harbor and I live in this city. If anybody thinks there is a better way to provide these services to that community, I stand ready to step aside and let that person do it. On to the regular statistics that you're used to seeing. Here is the heat map for activities in June. I will call your attention to the fact that the overall number of calls for service continues to rise steadily through this year. And the heat map shows that we have done a pretty good job of covering the entire harbor, including the coves, including right up to the PCH Bridge and all the way out to the harbor entrance. Here is the harbor amenity map usage, and I point out that we are tracking with utilization similar to 2023. I cannot explain why the map was more popular in 2024 than it is now, or it was in 2023, but it does show a seasonality of the utilization of that map, and I'm satisfied with the access points that we provide for people to make effective use of that map. Permitting activity, we are having a banner year in permit issuance, but for the Ryan Wharf, and that has everything to do with the boat show. Harbor event permit issuance is way up. A lot of that has to do with large vessel anchorage utilization and marine activities permitting is also way up, which indicates that there is more and more opportunity to make, to provide commercial services that are permitted on the harbor. Here's the comparison to last year. There were only 11 marine activities permits issued by this time last year, and only 35 harbor event permits. We had a huge banner year last year for the line work, all related to the ocean. Lastly, here is the anchorage utilization calendar. You will note that there are 4 instances of vessels using the anchorage that did not get DITAB. I point out that 2 of those red bars are the same vessel, Seahawk, and Seahawk is a vessel that enjoys a marine activities permit, so we are very, very, very familiar with that vessel. We are very familiar with their operations, and if we had to let one go by without DITAB, that was the one we let go by without DITAB. The other 2 were just, I don't have information on why those other 2 vessels were not DITAB during the month. It's just a matter of resources. I do call out the fact that the calendar is incomplete as shown on the screen, and that there are 5 different days where the amount of vessels staying in the anchorages exceeded the amount of real estate to show you that on this graphic. And that's my report for June.
Thank you, Harbor Master Blank. And especially, I would like to provide you some thanks for putting together that detailed financial analysis and results. I can say that the tenure I've had here, which is going on 9 years, clearly what you've done in the leadership of this department, tutelage to the harbor safety officers, has just been incredible, and it's turning Newport Harbor into a world-class harbor destination, there's no question. And, I think that's further supported by, just as a harbor commissioner, I can tell you that most of the time we hear about complaints, because when people want to see things improve, they'll step up and complain about something or ask for some help. It's not that often that we see praise. It's just the nature of how things are. But I can tell you that I consistently receive praise from boaters and mariners that have been in this harbor for a long time of how well the harbor is now being run, how clean the water is, the results of what you're doing, and the DITABs and everything else are really having a profound impact. So I just want to thank you for that. And any other comments from commissioners? Commissioner Sverchek? Commissioner Williams?
Yeah, I want to add on to that. I've been boating in this harbor for 14 years, and I recognize that there's a lot of people in this room that have been around a lot longer than I have. But without question, the biggest positive impact on our harbor has been the creation of the harbor department. So thank you very much, Paul Blank, for everything that you do. At the same time, going through the economics, I think anytime you can see a spreadsheet where you're under budget, especially public works, is commendable. But finances aside, this city is incredibly lucky to have somebody who is as passionate about the harbor as you are. So thank you very much.
Secretary Scott?
Yeah, Paul, I hear in your presentation, I know, I hear a little bit of, wanting to answer questions or justification or whatever. I look at Newport Beach and I look at, just take this last 4th of July. What our fire department lifeguards did was Herculean. It's over 600 life savings in the beaches. Our fire department had 20% higher call-outs for medical emergencies over the 4th of July weekend. Our police were up against huge issues at the beaches and stuff like that. It was just difficult. And all those people, our public works, and you look at our streets, you look at our infrastructure, and I know years past the desire to have a harbor department and to fund that harbor department and to get our harbor controlled and managed like the rest of our city, rest of our public safety. As a resident of Newport Harbor, as a boater in Newport Harbor, it's fantastic, number one. And number two, it's required. I mean, if we just let it go on its own, it would be pandemonium, it would be just chaos. And the longer you let it go, the worse it's gonna get. So, you know, I appreciate the economics, I appreciate the presentation. The fact is that the previous city councils, the current city council, the previous harbor commissions, current harbor commission, and the majority of the voters on the harbor are absolutely pleased and ecstatic to have a harbor department. And I don't think we need to justify anything other than just to continue with what you do. I thank you for it personally as a citizen, and I'm proud to be part of it as a harbor commissioner. And so, thank you very much.
Well said, thank you. Vice Chair Marston, any comments?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you for all you do. I mean, every month when we get your reports, I'm just amazed with how much goes on and how well it's addressed and the professionalism. You know, I like the 3 safe, clean, and well enjoyed. It's very good to hear. So I appreciate it.
Thank you. Commissioner Miller.
I think Commissioner Scully said it very well, so I'll leave all those accolades out. But earlier you talked about HSO, right? The big debate back to that. Several of my constituents said you guys should actually just be called ambassadors because it's an ambassador to the harbor, and they speak about a time when the sheriff ran in. If you had a problem, you know, the sheriff was not that receptive to helping you, and your team deploys at a moment's notice, and they notice things in the harbor. And so I think that we can go HSO, whatever it might be, but you really are ambassadors of the city and especially the harbor, so I say thank you for that.
Thank you. I'll open this to public comments.
Adam Leverins, I'm pretty sure that detailed explanation was a result of comments I made at a city council meeting last month. Less than 3 minutes of comments. The harbor master had, well over 10 minutes to respond. Some of this, I think, is just both a lack of understanding on my part and maybe not being clear. As far as harbor safety workers going to harbor safety officers, what really flagged the concern of a number of people was when Deputy Harbor Master Cozyline last month said every person in the harbor department would be trained on PCA 32, the rules of arrest. And as Mr. Blank mentioned, that was an unfortunate title. People just hadn't imagined that there's no administrative staff in the harbor department or secretarial staff. I mean, as he indicated, this is for code enforcement people, so that was kind of a red flag for folks. I appreciate Mr. Blank's observations about constitutional rights, particularly in the first and the fourth, but he noted I've long been an advocate for that. And I will point out that Title 17, there are instances in which the harbor master's decision is final and unappealable, and there are instances when the harbor master can board a boat without any judicial oversight. To me, neither of those things comply with the constitutional rights he mentions. The comparisons between the cost of the harbor patrol doing mooring management at $360K, and I think he said 2016, and the harbor department doing it 2024 for $316K, you have to also accept the context that the harbor patrol was 24/7, 365. The harbor department is not. So they're doing it for 12% less of a cost and a 62% reduction in hours of coverage. And as you know, the harbor patrol are law enforcement officers. I mean, there's things for both. Code enforcement, law enforcement. I can't imagine every harbor department employee is going to become a post-certified officer. But these harbor master updates, they're full of information. You've heard me encourage everyone to read them all. I don't know if you all do, if everybody out here does, but the facts and data are just amazing. But as he notes in the opening paragraph, a big part of his job is public relations. And these, a lot of times, are an exercise in public relations that don't describe everything that goes on in the harbor. You don't hear about the wrongful impounds, the threats, the cut blocks from the harbor department that they don't reimburse people for. There's a lot of things that people are afraid to talk about, and I'm foolish enough to try and speak on their behalf. I know it doesn't make me popular
Any additional public comments? Seeing none, move on to the next item. Motion for reconsideration. A motion to reconsider any action taken by the Harbor Commission must be made at the same or subsequent meeting at which the action was taken and may only be made by one of the Harbor Commission members who voted with the previous side, prevailing side. Are there any motions for reconsideration from any of the commissioners? Seeing none, we will move on to commission announcements. Any commissioners have announcements? Commissioner Swercek.
The city created an ad hoc committee to determine what the next usage might be for lower castaways and where an alternative pool sites may be located. And so I am on the ad hoc committee, and the first meeting is tomorrow, Thursday.
Very good. Congratulations on being on that committee. I know that's been a project you've been working on.
Thank you.
Commissioner Williams.
None. One thing I would add is, if you all mark your calendar for July 6th at 5:18 for this going on, the Van
July
Carlson.
6th?
Was that?
Did you say July 6th?
Yeah. For going forward, I encourage anybody's meeting, please be there to represent Ben Carlson, our fire department, who does an amazing moment of silence at 5:18 on the 6th of July every year. And so it's growing in size, and it's just a great, I think, testament to our lifeguard and fire department that we should all participate in.
Thank you. And moving on to matters for which commissioners would like to be placed on a future agenda for discussion, action, or report. I'd like to mention that as one of my first actions as a chair, I'd like to agendize for the next meeting to put an ad hoc committee together, approve it to review the objectives going forward into 2020, I guess fiscal 2026. Anybody else would like to have an item agendized? Commissioner
No.
Miller, Commissioner Scully.
Yes, I'd like to put out an offer, and I'm willing to be the person to reach out. But I'd like to reach out to Ann Stenton at the Newport Mooring Association and see if she would do, say, a 15-minute update on the goals and objectives and direction of the Newport Mooring Association for the Harbor Commission. I'd like to have that for a future agenda item.
Okay, so if I understand correctly, then staff would reach out to the NMA indicating that we're agendizing something for them to come here, or are we going to discuss it at the next meeting to agendize it?
No, I'd reach out to her and see if she'd be
Willing to do that?
Willing to do that, and then
Okay.
bring it to the Harbor Commission to agendize for a specific meeting.
Fair enough. Okay. I would suggest we put some time limits and things like that on it, but that's a great idea. Commissioner Williams, Commissioner Swercek, anything? Okay. Thank you. I would like to announce that the date and time for the next Harbor Commission meeting is Wednesday, August 13th at 5 p.m. Thank you. We are adjourned.